Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 86 of the CUInsight Experience. This episode is brought to you by our friends at PSCU. As the nation's premier payments CUSO, PSCU proudly supports the success of more than 1,500 credit unions. My name is Randy Smith. I am one of the co-founders of CUInsight.com, and it is my job on the show to have conversations with the best and the brightest of the credit union community. I get to pick their brains and see if we can't find a few nuggets that we can all learn from. My guest on today's show is Ken Cahoon. Ken is the president and CEO of Democracy Federal Credit Union. I had the pleasure of meeting Ken this past year at GAC. That seems like a lifetime ago. And I knew he was going to be a great guest on the show. As someone who was newer to the CEO position pre-COVID, I was looking forward to hearing his perspective on leading during these current times. This conversation was a blast. As I've mentioned, getting to know Ken over the past few months on calls we've been on, Ken is one of the people that always has the great questions and is part of these conversations. So it was fun to kind of put him on the hot seat and get to ask him all the questions in this show. Ken talked about the changes he's seen in credit unions and shared what he thinks we all need to do moving forward to stay relevant in this disruptive time, both from a member service standpoint and as a good leader of our teams. I appreciated hearing Ken's story, and I think you will too, about how he got that to the CEO chair and what he learned each step along the way. As always, we wrap up the show with the rapid fire questions. We learned that Ken actually got a tryout to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers after his college football career was over. I think I speak for many of us in credit unions that we're glad we were his fallback plan if the NFL didn't work out. We're lucky to have him. So without further ado, I give you my conversation with Ken Cahoon. Enjoy. Ken, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be on the show. And I've been listening to your show for the past year, and I've enjoyed every guest that you've had on there. So,
well, I'm glad it's now you. So,
yeah, I know, right?
You and I met, for the first time just at GAC this past year, which seems like a lifetime ago. But since then, we've been on some calls together, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you since then. And so I couldn't be more excited about having you here today. And I know from past conversations that I think our listeners are really going to get getting to know you as well. So first and foremost, how is everything in our nation's capital?
Wow. Where do I start? There's a lot of things that are going on, of course, from the pandemic, that's affected everybody. So, that definitely affected our area. And then you have right now, again, the protests have been going on across the nation. It's kind of slowed down a little bit. There's pockets right now that are going on, over social injustice. And, we're still kind of dealing with that. And right now, the big thing that's going, actually, there's two big things on right now is school. Yeah. What are they going to do with the children that have to go back to school? So that's such a hot topic right now, especially it's a hot topic in all the areas, but in our area is just as hot because, again, you have Congress here. Yeah. And you have the president that's here as well. So you have that. And then you have the CARES Act as far as that basically ending at the end of the month. So, right now, you have both houses scrambling around trying to make a decision for the whole country. So, and then you throw on top of that the election in November.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up. So after we get past all these things and kids going back to school, now it's going to be full swing as far as who's going to run the country here over the next 4 years. So, boy, everything is just 2020 is going to blur. It's going to blur.
That's such the truth. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's, Jill and I keep talking about it. Like I've said it multiple times, I think on the show it's like all of our plans and I've been a part of some calls and talking about this too. It's like everything needs to be written in pencil. You got to be able to change it, right? So it's like just throw away the pens, get rid of them, and go from there. But to kind of get more specific to the credit union and to you, a global pandemic. It's a new one for all of us. I don't think any of us were in leadership roles 100 years ago. So what's been the biggest challenge that you've faced as a CEO? And I guess what's also been the biggest change maybe that you've seen as yourself as a leader over the past few months?
Right. Okay. So, and just kind of going back as far as, how long I've been a CEO, I've been a CEO for a year and a half. So I always joke and I always say, look, I had a great freshman year. My freshman year, my first year as a CEO was great, getting to know the staff, getting to know the membership. We had a loan growth of about 32%.
Wow.
We had a couple of publications in Alexandria named us one of the best credit unions. We won the Diamond Award for our grand opening, and then we had our strategic plan all planned out, organized, and we had it put it in nice little packages to hand out to all the managers, and then all of a sudden, then March came, and it just wiped everything out. Yeah. Everything out. So, I had a good freshman year, then I go into my sophomore year.
Yeah.
Years being, and it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. So basically, as far as challenges, it's just the first thing is just really keeping everybody calm. Yeah. Everything was coming so quickly, and it was coming quickly for me. So, we have the employees, they're frightened. You have the memberships that are frightened. You have the executive team that are a little shaken up as far as what's going on. So just trying to keep everybody calm, cool, and motivated. That was a tough thing to do because there's so much out there that people are watching. I mean, we're watching all this in front of us.
Absolutely.
And we're worried about, okay, when is it going to come knocking on our door? And when it comes knocking on our door, what are we going to do? So it's just all that the unknown. The unknown was hard to navigate. Has been hard to navigate through.
I was just going to say, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who also works in the space, and she called last week and she was just like, does it seem like everybody's a bit more on edge? And we were talking about it. Yeah. Just the idea that now that we're this far in, we're also like, wow, we're not close to the end yet either. So, no, it kind of, there's almost like, okay, we need to keep readjusting, right?
Right. So, I mean, with all those things going on and making sure that the employees are safe. Yep. And also, in my eyes, I have to make sure that the board, they made this choice to pick me as a CEO last year. So I got to make sure that they said, okay, we made the right choice here that's going to guide us through this situation. So there's a lot of things that goes on. But the biggest thing that, as far as that are trying to overcome that challenge, is to overcommunicate. I have to overcommunicate to the staff, to my executive team, to the board, letting them know, hey, look, this is what's happening. We are not immune to any of this. And these are the things that we're going to do to mitigate, any losses or mitigate some of the issues that are going on right now. So, just really overcommunicating the situation at hand. And even though I know that they see it, but I want to bring all those things to the forefront. So those have been some big challenges for me.
I think that communication side and just making sure that you're saying it over and over, even if we sometimes think everybody knows it, not the case, right? When people need to hear it. So I think that's a huge tip for all of us out there. How do you think that this global pandemic overall will change the way, or do you think it will change the way that your members interact with the credit union going forward once this thing's all over?
It's basically the days of members walking into our branches. That's going to go by the wayside. Right now, we're in a position where we have to teach our members the whole e-service platform. Yeah. And we've always had e-services. We've always had mobile banking and we've had those things. And now this is the point in time where we have to teach them how to use, the mobile banking, how to get into their account, how to get into their online account, how to deposit a check remotely. These are simple things that I think that we took for granted that everybody should know, but we're finding out that we have to teach them. And one thing that we're doing is we're starting to do a tutorial. Yeah. As far as that's the next thing to do is do a little tutorial on our website as far as the steps that you have to take in order to take advantage of our e-services platform. So that's the biggest thing. It's going to be, quote unquote, I want to say the wave of the future, but it's been around, but this is going to be where the branch is going to have less traffic. And that's the thing that we have to realize right now.
So that brings me to the next question. How do you see the way, going forward that, from a staffing standpoint, is there more remote work, less in the branch, more in the services? What are you seeing there? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's going to be more, we're going to put more of our energy on e-services platform and actually our call center platform as well. Yep. Because, it's now the point where they have to be able to access democracy, remotely. And it's, guess what, picking up the phone.
Yeah.
And making the phone call and going through issues with their account, and also being able to log onto their mobile and online account. And right now, the one thing that I've actually kind of put as far as a strategic plan for not even for next year, but to make sure that it's perfect for next year, is our e-services platform. We have to perfect the processes. If we don't perfect those processes, they're going to go to other financial institutions that have done. That is one big focus that I'm really just laser, honed in on, that I want to make sure that we perfect it. And when I say perfected, I mean, nothing's perfect, but it has to be to a part where it's above par.
Yeah.
And just having an average online or mobile banking platform or experience is not going to work for next year. That's the one thing that we're always in the war room. I call it the war room in the boardroom, really kind of going over what our next steps, because we have to make sure that when 2021 comes around, that we're ready for our members to have a much better experience than what they had earlier this year or last year or whenever. So that member experience is in the forefront of our mind right now.
I know you've listened to the podcast. You talked about it when we were at GAC too. So you probably heard this question before, because it's one that I've asked for, basically since the beginning, but I was excited to ask you that. And it kind of ties into what you were just talking about, whether it's credit unions overall, whole industry, right? Like from the blimp level, or if it's more specifically smaller credit unions, is there something that we need to be doing to stay relevant with all the disruption that was going on pre-pandemic, but what we've seen since then as well?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the e-service platform? Is it that, delivering it like what you were just talking about? Or
Yeah, it is that. It's that platform. But I want to take it kind of a step further. I want to make sure when the members come into the credit union, that when they get in and we open the account, that those services are good. They have to be up to par. But I want to make sure when they walk in the door that we have a financial counseling hat on. So we're not just opening the account and open up a checking and savings and they stick $5 in there and then they're off they go. And it can't be that way. It literally has to be a financial counseling session, and literally open themselves up to, hey, look, I need your help, democracy. This is what's going on. And I'm coming to you because I need some help. And we're going to build a platform where when somebody walks through the door, we're looking at everything. We're asking for the 3 to 5 year financial plan, where we're asking them, hey, do you have any big ticket items that you are looking to buy in the next 30, 60, 90 days? Do you have any kids in college, or do you have kids that are going to college? So there'll be a whole plethora of questions that we're going to ask them. We can build a profile and put them in the right products. We want to build a profile that okay, so Mr. Smith, all of these are the things that you told me. So this is where we feel that you should be in this checking account. We feel that we're going to refinance your car and save you $200 a month, drop your rate, and we might throw a 90 days deferred payment with you, so you're saving already. We're going to consolidate these 4 credit cards for you where you'll be able to save. So the whole point of it is where there's going to be certain steps that we want to basically, and there's things that I like to say is save people money, increase their buying power, and enhance their lives. Those are 3 things that kind of mantra that I really talk to my team members about. And that goal needs to make sure we hit that goal every time we meet with a member. So that face-to-face or that virtual interaction has to be second to none, because I might not see that member again once they either walk out of our house or once I finish talking to them on the phone.
Absolutely.
Because of mobile banking, they can apply a loan on their phone or through their computer. They can deposit a check from their house. They can do everything without even talking to anybody. So that first interaction that I have has to be second to none. And that's one of the things that we're working on right now.
I think you make a great point there. I mean, any interaction we have has to be second to none, right? Because we don't know how many of those opportunities we're going to get. So
that's exactly right.
I can't even tell you the last time I walked into a branch. So
exactly.
So, last question in this section, but you talked about the communication with your team and working with your team on that. If we're sitting down just like this a year from now, what are you most proud of that you and your team at Democracy have accomplished? I know it's impossible to do during this current time, but break out that crystal ball for me. What are you most proud of over the next year?
As far as the next year, it kind of goes back to what I said, is really, perfecting the processes of the e-service platform. I want to look back and say, okay, when our members log in, there's no issues as far as them being locked out. There's no issues as far as them not knowing where to go. Everything is working on all cylinders. And, I want to make sure those processes are done right. I want to make sure that, hey, when the member walks in, they were able to get the absolute best service they possibly got. We were able to, out of the, let's say, 500 or just say 200 or 300 new members that we got, they all got financial counseling. And we were able to save, a certain amount of money for these particular members by us giving them a certain amount of products. Those are two key things that we are really, really focusing on, that a year from now, we'll be able to celebrate and look back and be like, okay, our processes are right on point. So those are the things that we are just laser focused on over the next 6 months going into 2021.
I can't wait to watch, and I believe that you will make that happen, my friends. So onto the second part of the show, the leadership and life hacks. I always ask the question, what inspired you to take the gig as, president and CEO of Democracy FCU?
There's a lot of things, and I'll kind of go back to a little bit of my career. And my career started actually at Norwest Financial, which merged with Wells Fargo Financial.
Okay, yeah.
So coming out of college, that was the thing that I was doing. I didn't know a lot about finances, but I knew that I was taught to help people. I was taught to sit down with families and go over their finances, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I excelled in it. We used to do these things in Wells Fargo Financial called home lookups. And home lookups, basically, you talk to a customer and we talk about, hey, look, we can save you money. We can consolidate your bills and we can do home equity loans. And, oh, look, when do you want me to come to your house? Oh, yeah, come to my house at this time. So it was that sitting at their counter, meeting their family, the dog, petting the dog, and really having that real closeness as far as interaction. And I learned it from working at Wells Fargo Financial. It's a really good training program. So, from there, I moved to mortgages. I did well with mortgages because, again, it was all about helping people, saving them. I loved doing that. And then when the industry dropped, I was in the process of looking at things. So I was introduced into the credit union world.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2007. It was different because I was coming from the mortgage industry, and that mortgage industry, you were going 100 miles per hour all the time. And I had to learn to slow it down coming into the credit union world. I kind of came in pretty strong, but I learned very quickly, that I had to kind of to slow it down. So I did that. And as I was working, I actually worked at Justice Federal Credit Union and I learned the industry. That's where I learned the industry. I was there for about almost 6 years and really learned what this credit union movement was. And then I said, I like this. I can really help out people. The credit union industry is people helping people, and that's the biggest thing that we say in the industry. And then I learned about the industry from there. I moved to Spirit Federal Credit Union in Delaware. I learned the teller work. I was a VP of operations there, and the CEO there, he said, look, I want you to work the teller line for 4 or 5 months. And I was like, really? So I worked the teller line, and I was able to learn what it is to be a teller, learn how to order cash, learn a lot of those back office things. For there, moved to Unified Financial. I wanted to move back into the area, so I was able to go into work for Unified Financial Credit Union and learn how to run a big branch operations. I ran probably about 15 to 20 branches in the United States, so I learned how to manage effectively as far as remote locations. So did a lot of traveling and learned that. And then from there, I moved into NIH Federal Credit Union, where I learned how to interact with the board, how to do presentations, how to, so you can see every step of the way.
Yeah, you're picking up.
Union, I learned a lot. And now I saw the position that was open for Democracy. The former CEO was there for 20, 30 years, and she was retiring. And I said, you know what? Let me take a swing at it, because I heard a lot of things. Well, Ken, you need to be a COO, and for 3 or 4 years, and you need to do this for 3 or 4 years, and then maybe you'll be ready for a CEO position. I was like, okay, I'll see how that path is. But I saw this position and I did my research, and I liked the things that they were doing, that they did in the past. I liked the foundation that they built. So I said, let me just throw my hat in the ring. Yeah. At least I'll get some experience and of interviewing. And then, from there, I got far along in the interview process. I put my strategic plan together and they liked it and got to the end and talked to the board. And fortunately, I was chosen to be the CEO for last year. So I like what democracy is about. I've come here and they have a good foundation as far as everything you can imagine. And now it's about us kind of telling our story now. And that's why I like this position. That's why I came to democracy.
I think that people are going to appreciate hearing, what you picked up along the way as a newer CEO, right? So that's fantastic, because I know a lot of people that want to sit in that chair, they're listening as well. It's one of my favorite questions, and I'm sure that your team, would, if they're listening, can answer this. But as a leader, is there something that your team's heard you say so many times that they can finish their sentence? We're like, we know, Ken. We know what you're going to say.
Well, I actually have a couple of things, and I stick to these things, and they know at some point in time I'm going to say it. The first thing that I've carried throughout the whole credit union industry I've been here, and I did it in the previous place of all, I always say I will send an email. I send an email to my team, or I send an email to the staff. I always end it, let's make it happen. Every time, make it happen. Let's make it happen. It's a very simple words, but at the end of the day, we have all these things. What you have to do. Let's make it happen. It's plain and simple. Let's make it happen. I say that. I say, let it rip. Sometimes people, when they want to talk, they try to find the words to say, and I just let it rip. Just let it rip. Just let it rip. Just let it rip. Say it. Once you say it, it's done. It's out in the atmosphere. So it's a chance for us to now react to it. So I say that. I say execute, execute, execute. Those are a couple of things we say. And my last thing that I say is, like I said before, is, we're in this thing. We have a purpose. We have a purpose in what we do. So we want to make sure that we're saving our members money, we're enhancing their lives, and increasing their buying power. Those are three things that we are doing. And because when we start to save people money, we enhance their lives. When we save them, that means that they can do more. They can do more with money. And then we're helping them increasing their buying power, meaning if we're helping them increase their credit score, that means they can buy more of a house because the interest rate is lower.
Oh, that's generational.
So there's so many things. Yes, it is. So there's so many things in those three statements that my team understands. That's our purpose and that's our goal.
When you think back to earlier in your career, is there a mistake that either you made or, now that you're a leader of folks, that you've seen young leaders kind of make over and over? That mistake that we all just have to go through.
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes and one of the things that I'm learning is that I can't do everything. I can't do everything. I can. And as much as I might think I can't always be in the weeds. I can't always knowing what's going on. And that's the thing that I'm learning right now. And just being able to rely more on your staff, rely on your executive team, and relying on the talent that they bring to the table. That is one of the things that I'm learning very quickly, that I need to let my team do their thing. And that's probably one of the things that I'm working through.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I've talked to others on the podcast about this because that's come up so often is, like on the way up the org chart, generally, the people that work hard and put their head down and do a lot of that type of stuff. But then once you start to get to that management and then leadership position, you have to be able to delegate, right? Like you can't do it all. That's why you have a team. Right. But sometimes it's so tough. Exactly. I know it's something I've struggled with to this day also, but it's
right.
For those that so many leaders I think that have been on the podcast are like, I it's a tough one, right? So
yeah, it is. It really is. Some of those things of doing everything is you can get away with that when you're at a VP level management. You can kind of be a little diverse and you can kind of get in the weeds, but once you get to the CEO position, your focus has to be more strategic focus. and really coming up with the ideas with your executive team for them to, again, have those strategic goals trickle down to the managers so they can execute them. So it's a total different ball game once you get to that executive level, because you do have to have that strategic mindset. And if you don't, then you're gonna struggle. So, those are the things that I'm learning.
They're good lessons to learn. So, has there been a piece of advice or a life lesson that you were given that you just find yourself going back to over and over throughout your career?
Yes, it's actually my dad.
Okay.
My dad, he gave me something, and I swear I can remember the day he told it to me, and I can remember it. And the biggest thing that he said is, your word is your bond.
Yeah.
And what you say and what you tell people you're going to do or how you're going to act, they're going to either look at you, they're going to trust you, or they're not going to trust you. Because once you say something and you don't do it, then that trust is gone. So the things that you say, if you say you're going to do something, people are expecting you to do it.
Absolutely.
And that has just completely resonated with me. And I've carried that through my professional, my personal life, and any type of interaction. And honestly, it's with me so much that if I don't do something, I'm upset at myself. And again, I'm just like, man, I let that person down. I said that, hey, look, I owe you an email. I didn't send it. So you had to come back to me and say, hey, look, did you send that email yet? No, I didn't. So I apologize. So that's the one thing that I do. I don't take that lightly. I don't say, hey, if I miss something, I don't say sorry or sorry about that. It's hey, I really apologize for that. I'll make sure I get that information to you. So that has been so dear to my heart, is that word is your bond. And that's what my father instilled in me.
I have to ask, how old were you when your dad told you that?
Wow, that was probably in high school.
Yeah,
high school. Yep, it was in high school, and I think it was around my 9th or 10th grade.
Yeah, that's I love that. Before we move on to the last part of the show, if you have a free day and there's nothing on the calendar, what passions do you have outside of credit unions? What is in this time we need to try to find ways to recharge. Often tough to do, but what does that look like for you?
A free day for me is more of, I like going to the gym. I like working out.
Okay.
I like the exercise. I like trying to be healthy as much as I possibly can. But, free day, I'm going to be in the gym for at least a couple hours. One thing I'd like to do, I like to, when we have a deck in our house, I just like to just kind of go out on the deck, put the umbrella up, put my little speaker on the table, and just sit outside and just enjoy being outside and just kind of doing a lot of thinking. And I do a lot of thinking when I sit on my deck. So that's one of the things I like. And then, to end the day, I like to have a nice dinner. Yeah. I really like to go out to a nice restaurant and sit down and just sit back and relax and just, talk about the day or with my wife and talk about, some of the things that are up and coming, but it's a relaxed atmosphere. But I love doing those things.
Those have been harder to come by here the last few months.
Yes, they have.
Right outdoor dining. We miss that. Jill and I talked about that's like the thing we miss the most is just going out to dinner like on a Friday after the work week and
that's
just chilling out with each other, right? So
that's exactly right. Yep.
So moving on to the last part of the show, the rapid fire questions. The questions are rapid. Your answers don't have to be. So,
right, understood. Okay.
All right. So, what was kind of like in high school? And do you remember the first time you got into memorable trouble?
Well, high school was actually good. Again, as we were talking before, I lived in the metropolitan area all the way up until 8th grade. So, my dad, his job moved into Rhode Island. And that was like, woof. That was a big thing for me. Is like, whoa, what, moving to Rhode Island?
Yeah.
So all the friends that I had, I'm leaving them all behind, all the people I grew up with. And so I moved to Rhode Island, and it was a little bit of a culture shock for me, but I got through. I ended up doing well there. I was really into sports. So I played football, basketball. So, I was able to kind of maneuver through that. I still got good grades in school. So I did that all 4 years, and I got there. Again, I didn't grow up in that area, but I was the homecoming king in my junior year. So I had a really good high school year. It was pretty solid. So I did that. So high school was good to me. Rhode Island, moving up to Rhode Island was probably the best thing that happened to me as far as my career in sports. because I was able to do that in college. But as far as a memorable thing for me was there was a time where, again, you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have any of that stuff there. So
I think we're all glad we didn't have the cameras on them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think my sophomore year, I had my little brother. He was, I want to say, like maybe 7 or 8 at the time. And our parents, they went grocery shopping, and I stayed home. And my friends came by. Hey, Ken, we're going to the beach. I said, man, my parents, man, I can't go anywhere. Like, come on, just leave a note and, tell me at the beach and you'll be back. And, at that time, I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I get good grades, play sports. I'm a good person. Guess what? I wrote a note, left it there. Hey, went to the beach, took Jamal with them, right? Talked about something. My brother's name is Jamal. I took, I teach with me. So went to the beach, had a ball. And as my friends were driving up, my parents were outside. My dad was washing the car. Yeah, he was washing the car. And, I said goodbye to my friends. And, my dad said, well, where did you go? And, why did you think it was okay? And I was like, well, why are you mad? So that didn't go over very well. That didn't go over very well. So looking back at that, I took my brother to the beach without asking my parents. Looking back at that, I'm like, wow, what was I thinking? Well, I was grounded for weeks over that incident. But now we got some major trouble with my parents. But it's funny, as a parent now, I understand that is just crazy. It is absolutely crazy to do. So many things can happen at that time, but fortunately nothing did. But I had to take the consequences like a man. So
yeah, you learned that lesson.
That was big for me. Yeah.
We talked about earlier how you got in, the path to credit unions. But when you were younger in high school, let's just say, what did you want to be when you grew up? Most of us weren't like, I want to be in credit unions, right? So
right.
What did you want to be while you're playing football and running track? And
right. Yeah. So basically, there's 2 things. I wanted to be a lawyer. Okay. I was a lawyer. I grew up on Perry Mason, LA Law, Matlock, all those old shows. So I grew up on those shows, and I thought they were so they glamorized being a lawyer. I was like, man, I can do that. So as I got further older, I started research as far as the things you got to do to be a lawyer, and it didn't sound too exciting to me. So after that, when I got in college, I did well in college. I played football in college all 4 years as a wide receiver, and I wanted to play football professionally. And I ended up getting a tryout for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in '95 as a wide receiver. I remember running the 40-yard dash and catching footballs from one of the pro quarterbacks, and I did the shuttle run and the broad jump in front of Bill Cowher, who was the head coach at that time. So I wanted to be a professional football player. It's funny, when I had that tryout, I already accepted a job at Norwest Financial.
Okay. See, you had your fallback plan, right?
Yeah, I had my fallback plan already. So,
where'd you play ball in college?
Yeah, I played at California University of Pennsylvania. Okay. So it was a Division II school. I was invited to try out because I played well. I was All-American wide receiver for 2 years, and it was something that after the tryout they gave me a T-shirt that said Steelers on it, and they gave me a $25 check. And I swear today, I wish I had both of them. I would have framed my check.
I was just going to say, you were a professional football player.
Exactly. Right. So I wanted to do that, but I ended up getting into the finance industry. That was my fallback.
That was the fallback.
So it all ended up well.
So you were a professional athlete. You got $25 from the Steelers. I love it.
$25, right?
I absolutely love it. You mentioned working out. Do you have any daily routines that if you just don't do, your day feels off?
Yeah, it's funny. My day is like when I get up. I walk my dog, and it's funny. It's like clockwork. I walk my dog. I look at my emails. I look at my calendar to see what my day looks like. One thing that I do, I have to turn on the Today Show.
Okay.
And the Today Show, the Today Show, I watch it and it kind of gets me ready. Just the first 15, 20 minutes, that's all I need.
Yeah.
It gets me just kind of what's going on in the world. And I also watch the local news. So I kind of watch both of them. So about a half an hour, I really spend that time watching that just to kind of know what's on the horizon and what's going on in locally and within the United States. So, I do that, and then I go into work and have my meetings. And, after my day is over, I seem to always work for another couple hours. And
Okay.
it's like I feel like I have to open up my computer at 10 o'clock when, I've spent time with the family and everybody's asleep. And I feel like I always have to open up my computer just to make sure I understood how the day went and kind of do more of a reflection of the day. And I do that on a nightly basis. And I'll probably take maybe a day, like I'll do like my Wednesday. I usually designate my Wednesdays. I'm not going to do any work. Whether it's, I spend more time with the family, we might watch a TV show, we might have a more of an extended dinner. That's the day I designate as far as I'm not going to do any work. But that's kind of how my day looks like. And I have to do those things.
I love it. But I'm interested to ask you this question because from the time frames you've been throwing out there, we're probably about the same age. So,
right.
So, what's the best album of all time? That one you can listen to without skipping a song.
Hilarious. Actually, I got a couple of them. I am a huge hip hop head. I love hip hop. So I love it. So, I like Nas, Illmatic. That's one of the ones I absolutely love. Absolutely. I love Michael Jackson, Thriller, and I love Prince, Purple Rain.
Oh.
Those are 3 albums that you can just easily put on your headphones and listen to every single song.
I think Prince Purple Rain has to be one of the best albums, just period, of all time.
Right? All time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's others that we obviously are about the same age. So, I'm a reader. Jill and I have stacks of books all over the house. A lot have been recommended to us by guests on the show. Is there a book that either you've gifted others or that you just think everybody should read?
Yeah, I kind of have a couple. I have one, the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. That was a good book. The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. That was a great book. When I came into, and again, we always have the usual suspects as far as some of the books, Good to Great, Great by Choice, Leaders Eat Last. Those are all just, everybody has those. But the two that I also really, really helped me out as far as coming into the CEO position was 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. That one's a huge one. I love that book because that book it's a very different book because it tells a story, but it teaches you. It puts fictional characters in there, but it talks about the fictional characters as far as what their issues were. And it was a really good story. And it's pertained to how you deal with a team that's dysfunctional. So I read through that, and the other one is My First 90 Days. That was a good book.
That's for every CEO. I think that book should probably go out, right? That one has been mentioned often, and I think because it's been so, when people get into these roles, right? Like it's a new thing for all of us. It is. So
it's because it's just, where do you start? Like
that's exactly
the CEO position. Where do you start? And what that's how it got my juices flowing as far as where I wanted to take Democracy Federal Credit Union. So you sit back and when I got the position, I was really excited. I'm like, I got it. Okay, so what do I do now? Now what? So that book really helped me out as far as getting the juices flowing.
Absolutely. One of my favorite questions: as you've gotten older, we're about, like I said, seems like we're about the same age. What's become more important to you? And my favorite part of this question: what's become less important?
More important to me has been time. Is time is like, it is so precious. I mean, it's just like my days just go by so fast. I'm like, where to go? And having the time, whether it's just spending time and just getting me time for yourself or time with your family, it's just everything to me just at times feels rushed. And I just wish it could slow down. And so time is a very big thing. And also just being able to read more. I really want to be able to read. That was one of the things that's really important that I didn't do at an earlier age.
I was with you on that. Yep.
Is read. I came to the party late with that.
I am with you. That's the same with me. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't like reading, but when you get to certain positions, you want to see all different angles and hear what other people are going through. So, reading is a big thing for me now.
What's become less important?
What's become less important? I don't know. Things. Items.
Yeah.
Things. Like I need to have the latest this or latest that. It's just that is like means nothing. I'd rather have more time
right,
than
trade
anything.
The things for time. I think most of us would do that.
Things for time in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. I know you've listened, but even people that listen seem not to forget this question because I don't send it to you. When you hear the word success, who's the first person that comes to mind?
Yeah. As far as I can honestly say, as far as success is my dad.
I love it.
Yeah, my dad, as far as I kind of watched him and how the decisions that he made for the family were crucial decisions. I mean, from, because he was an electrical engineer. He worked for IBM, Lockheed Martin. So, he worked for those companies. And, there's decisions that he made, where he moved me to Rhode Island. That was a big decision, but he trusted, hey, look, I know how Ken is and he'll be resilient and he'll get through it. And I flourished. And it helped me shape me as a person. After that, he made the decision to move to England. He moved my brother out there, 8th grade to 12th grade. He was in England. That shaped who he was.
I can imagine.
And then now it's funny. I had a conversation with my dad last week. I said, Dad, when did you retire? He said, I retired at the age of 60. I said, wow, that's pretty good. And he's living, and right now he's living a comfortable life. He's with my mom, and, he has grandkids, and, he has us, and, he's living a good life. So to me, as far as him navigating, as far as the family structure and the man that I am today, I look at that as far as success. And I'm hoping that I navigate my way that way as well.
You know what? I like hearing Dad get a shout out on the show because Mom gets a lot of shout outs. So,
oh yeah, of course. I got to make sure my mom, she was right there with him.
Absolutely.
Doing her thing. And I'm just looking at it from a father's perspective.
Oh, absolutely. I get it completely. Hey, Ken, thanks again for being on the show and sharing your story. I greatly appreciate it. This was a ton of fun. The last question that I have of you is, do you have any final asks of our listeners today?
First of all, I want to thank you for this particular platform. When I came into the last couple of years, I was always looking for, I got into podcast late. So I got into podcast just last year, and I was searching for a credit union platform. And I ran into yours, and I've gotten so many nuggets from the guests that you have. That's one of the things that I do. I didn't mention, hey, I listen to your podcast. I listen to your different things. So yeah, so I really, really appreciate you bringing this platform for us. But, kind of going back to what we were saying, as far as an industry, we have to take advantage of what's going on right now. We have to make sure that we build our processes, and we have to really make sure that we're helping out the community. And we say that we're out for helping out the community, but we really have to step up and continue the efforts that we're doing right now. Because right now, the banks are not going to do it. We're going to do it. And we're a small industry, and we got to make sure that we have each other's back, and we continue to do that. And that's the one thing I love about the credit union network. I can call another CEO and they will give me information and without even blinking an eye. So it feels it's not just me running this credit union. I have other partners out there as far as the CEO network that help me run my credit union. And we basically share and I reciprocate the same thing. So that's just my last words as far as out to the industry. Let's keep helping each other out.
I love it. I think it is the perfect way to end. We will link to everything we talked about today in the show notes. If people have additional questions of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you? LinkedIn, Twitter machine, email? You have what's your poison?
Yeah, either one. My LinkedIn profile, Ken Cahoon. My email address is kcahoon@democracyfcu.org. Those are the two platforms that they can get a hold of me at.
That is awesome. Thank you again, Ken, so much for being on the show today. Stay healthy, my friend, and I hope you have an amazing day.
All right. Thank you very much. You as well.
Before we go, I would like to just give a quick thank you to all of you for listening. We couldn't be having this much fun talking to these amazing folks from around credit union land without you listening. And also, thank you, Ken, for taking the time out of his busy schedule to share his experience with all of us. And a big thank you to our sponsors, PSCU. Our friends at PSCU have been longtime partners and supporters of ours. So please make sure to click on their link in the show notes, give them some love, see everything they have going on to help the credit union community. One last thing, don't forget about the CUInsight Experience podcast book list. If you need some stimulation for the old mind, Ken gave some great suggestions of books that he's enjoyed over the years. You can get your next read from the guests on our show. We've got you covered there. It has turned into quite the reading list, that's for sure. So enjoy that. Thank you again all for listening and have a great day. Stay healthy, friends.